Well, hello, Facebook. We call these a day's life. I've checked the batteries. I apparently am on the internet. I'm having some trouble with my main camera, so I'm on my computer screen, but it seems to be all right, so we're going to hang out. Tonight we are going to talk about the power of positive competition. I'm going to talk about a road trip I took with the world famous and currently on our show, Robert Riddle Sr. I'm going to talk about a laughing stock, and I'm going to show you a... this isn't good. Okay, never mind. Well, my battery's going to fade, but that's all right. But only on my phone. I'm going to talk to you about a laughing stock, and I'm going to show you a video about a Pontiac and a man named Archie. So let's get right started. Let's get to it here. I got to admit, I had a very, very, very good week. Do you ever, when everybody else is kind of not doing very well and you're doing pretty well, do you feel bad about it a little? I got to admit, I had a really good week. I got to go on a road trip with my friend Robert. That was fantastic. I sold not one, but two of the most expensive pieces I have ever sold, ever. I got them delivered. I got them finished. I produced a whole bunch of work, probably 10 or 11 pieces. I was able to set up a gallery this morning at the Initial Point Gallery. I'm going to show you some pictures of that. And it was just really fantastic. So, while everybody else, the world is burning down, I seem to have found a way to... not only survive, but thrive. And I'm really very, extremely grateful. And the way my world is, I don't really expect it to last. So, it is really, really good for me right now. I'm a little manic depressive, so it'll probably fade here anytime. And maybe the next show we'll talk about depression. But today things are good. And that's partially because of how wonderful it is that I get to hang out with all of you on every Friday and occasionally during the week. I tried to go live in the Alver Desert, but I couldn't see the screen. It turned out to be just a disaster. So it's a fantastic, fantastic week. So thank you all very much. So tonight we're going to talk about the power of positive competition. But first, I want to show you, if I can, let's see if I can go to this one here. Look at that. So I am totally addicted to the road. It is one of my favorite things to do. I love getting out. Robert, who's with us, and I went out to the Alver Desert and below Steens Mountain. We ended up in Burns that evening. We chased wild horses, and I do mean chased. We got pretty close to one by Steens Mountain, a herd. We walked up. We both have very long telephoto lenses. We got within maybe 100 yards. Robert, I don't know. You want to chime in here? I was a little closer than Robert was, but he has a little better lens than I do. And sure enough, they skidded away up over the hill, and we got some long shots, but nothing else. The next day, we also got relatively close. We could see one of the ways you chase the wild horses is you find their scat, their poop. We not only found their poop, we found their hoof marks. We were sure we were going to be right on top of them. And you know what? They were not there. So I climbed up a ridge, and I did find them, but they were probably a half a mile away. And neither one of us had the energy to go chase them up the hill and over the dale. So in theory, because we didn't actually do what our initial goal was, which was to find and take photographs of wild horses, we did found some really cool tame ones. Actually, I'm going to show you a video from one of those shortly. But it wasn't a bust. We had a great time. We learned a lot about that area. We'll probably go back this fall, and it was really, really fun. In fact, we're going to go back this spring. We took some pictures of some waterfalls. Mine did not turn out very much. Is anybody else losing sound here? I hope not. I hope everybody still has it. My friend Wendy Lee is not. So the thing I did this morning was I got to load up my truck. So this is my little Ford Explorer truck. They call it a sports track. The piece there of the wild horses is, I believe it is 40 inches by 72 inches. In fact, maybe it's not. Yeah, it's 40 inches by 72 inches. I hung it on a wall in a real gallery in Meridian, Idaho. Talk a little bit later about that. There is a reception on July 7th I hope you can get to. And let me show you how it looked. Maybe I could show you how it looked. Hang on just a second, my friends. Let's try this. I'm getting slowly but surely better at this. So here it is. Here's how the gallery looks. Isn't that beautiful? Look at all those pieces running along there. There's the wild horses I was talking about. A couple other wild horses from there. This show is at the Initial Point Gallery, which is in Meridian, Idaho. It is in City Hall. And man, I'm so proud to be there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 images on that wall. They range from a 16 by 20 of a sunset in the Sawtooth area, or excuse me, in Driggs, and a couple of battles, a couple horses, a bald eagle. Get a chance to go there, great. If you could come on the 7th, I would really appreciate it. It's going to be really, really, really fun. So, all right. Let's get to the main topic. So, I run with a pretty good, smart bunch of friends. They include Robert, who's here, Corey Barish, Tony Moody. Corey and I, and Tony and I, are actually in the same gallery. Let's get here. Let's see if you want to look at my ugly face. We'll put it back to my face. So, hello, B. How are you? Hello, everybody. Let's see. I haven't said hello to Candy yet. Oh, well, look at that. My friend Jameson, my daughter's girlfriend, is on the with us today. How fun is that? So, where was I? Power positivity. So I'm in galleries with Tony and Corey. I often hang out with Robert. He sometimes does the same markets as I do. And people are always trying to get us to compete. Part of that is, this spring, we've all been lucky enough to find these wild horses, this beautiful band, mostly the Black Mountain Herd, which is outside. So we take similar pictures. Now, I will tell you that even though we are taking pictures of the very same subject, in fact, there was a day when Tony and Robert and I were all at the same location, taking a picture of the same horses. We get different photographs. But there is a positive power in the competition that is generated. And let me talk a little bit about that. The powers of positivity. The best thing is, and you got to be careful with this because comparing yourself with others is really dangerous. It's really easy to say, I'm not as good as they are. But if you compare yourself in a positive way, it teaches you how to be better. I am a better photographer because I hang out with Corey Barish and Tony and a guy named Dan Motaz, and before that, Alan Ansell, and before that, Mike Osborne, Keith Wachlet, Sherry Hart. I've been really blessed to hang out with some fantastic photographers, and they push me to be better. They find a way for me to become a better photographer. And I do that because I compare myself with them. The other thing I do is I will look at a photograph that somebody has taken, not necessarily one of my friends, and I think, ooh, how did they do that? I want to do that. I want to figure out a way to make that photograph. That's the power of positive competition. If you hold yourself to those standards, those guys who are really, really good, guys and gals who are really, really good, you will eventually elevate your standard. If you can hang around people who are really good at what you do and really good, especially if they are better than you are, and you're willing to admit that and you're willing to learn from that. I'm looking at the camera that doesn't work. If you're willing to learn that, it is a wonderful thing. High, elite standards. I consider the folks that I get to hang with amongst those groups. They're some of the best photographers in the West, and I'm lucky enough that I get to be in competition with them. That's wonderful. Be around people who are doing the things that you want to do. I probably would not have been able to be around these horses if it had not been for my good friend, Tony Moody. And then Robert and Tony and I went out a couple of times. It's fantastic. Tony's the horse whisperer. He's amazing at finding them. And of course, when I get a chance to get on the road and move around, get out there on the road with my good friend Robert, or I've traveled with Corey quite a bit. I haven't traveled much with Tony except maybe to go a day trip or two. It's really, really fun. Hang around with the people that do the things that you want to do well. That is really important. So, Be careful, though. Be really careful, because it's easy to compare yourself to others and decide you're either not good enough or that you're a lot better than they are. I've never had that problem, but you do know those people who are like that. When you're comparing yourself, it's a great way to assess your personal strengths. The other thing is, it's a great way for you to find out what it is you can do that maybe is a little bit different from what they do. I've noticed that when we take photographs, I take family groups a lot. I really like the interaction between the foals and the mares and the studs, the stallions. It's really fun for me. I like that. I like that interaction. I love to see them all when they're running. I take a lot of the stallions galloping. And, of course, we all love it when we do what Tony calls a battle, when they get up and fight against each other. That's probably the most fun. Although I don't think anybody's going to have a photograph of a horse battling on their front yard. The other thing is, it gives you a baseline. It gives you a level. Okay, this is how these guys do it. Is there a way I can maybe get a little better? Can I elevate myself up? Is there something I can learn? Is there a program? Is there a style? There's something in post-processing that I can do that makes my work a little bit different than theirs? That is wonderful. The other thing is it really helps you to be consistent and persistent. Competition is great for that. Overall, it gives you comfort. I think it's fantastic that I have these friends who are so good at what they do, at what I do. It's wonderful that they have found successes in what they do. It gives me hope. It gives me hope. So, what do you think about all that? What do you think about positive competition? I seem to have lost the comments. I hope they're still on there. Tonight, I promised you two different things. I have promised you laughing stock. So what do you say? Why don't we do that? I call this a horse's laugh. You cannot watch that without enjoying yourself and finding yourself smiling. That is, we initially thought this was a wild band. We were in the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. You would think that there would be wild horses there. We drive down the road. We see them off. We can get to them. We're being very careful. We're being really ginger. We're coming up on them. We're not making any solid moves. We're not jumping around. And then I get within maybe 50 feet of these horses, and I decide that I'm going to talk to them. You know? That'd be great, Zig, if you did that. I decide I'm going to talk to him. Well, as soon as I started talking in quiet tones, these wild horses came right up to me. So they probably were not stallions. They were probably not wild Mustangs. These were probably from the farm, which was not all that far away. But they did show off for me. I think that is just absolutely hilarious. I think it's killer that those horses were. Oh, Wendy Lee, I gotta put that one on the screen. Oh, look at that. Hey, kids, get off my lawn. Except the kids were in their 60s. But boy, that's hilarious, my friend. Thank you. Oh, look at that beautiful smile on that girl's face over there in that little circle. So, yes, it was a good trip. We got to see the French Glen Round Barn. Not all that exciting, but it was interesting to hear the story of how the gentleman who built the barn ended up pissing everybody off so bad that someone shot him. And the jury said, yeah, it's okay. He probably deserved it. So, I've promised you a video. It's still a little rough, but as we've talked about, done is better than perfect. I thought I would show it to you all first. This is called Archie's Pontiac, Archie's Torpedo, actually. Archie is actually the stepfather of one of my friends, Chris Carlson. This Pontiac is on the Carlson Ranch, and I want to thank them for showing them to me. That's pretty good, too. You guys are hilarious. Anyway, so I'm out on the Carlson Ranch, and we were hanging out. And clear back in the very back corner, they have a junkyard. Like a lot of farms have. There's broken there's literally over a century of junk in this place. There's broken wagon wheels. There's farm implements. There's even a Coca-Cola machine off on the side. But I just became fascinated with this beautiful old rusted Pontiac Torpedo. So I asked Chris and his mom, mother, and father, and he says, "Oh, that's Archie's Pontiac." And I said, "Well, who's Archie?" "Well, Archie was my friend Chris's third husband. So, and technically not really a grandfather, but kind of a grandfather. So I wrote a story that I call Archie's Torpedo. What do you think? Would you like me to share it with you? Let's see how this works. I'll probably come back when it's over and say goodbye, but I may just let it run. I want to thank you all. What a great time this is. You are really, really enjoying. You have really helped me enjoy this whole thing. Robert wants me to show my face. I don't know why in the world I would do that. Why would you rather look at my face than those crazy horses, my friends? All right. Let's get right to it. I think I've teased it. I'm not as good at teasing it as some of these people, so here we go. I call this Archie's Torpedo. Archie's Torpedo by David R. Day, copyright 2020. As Archie rolled into the two-pump gas station in Ken, Oregon, he was styling in a brand new 1940 Pontiac Torpedo Coupe, straight from a dealer in Vegas. It had V8 power, 3 on the tree, white wall tires, all the candy. Shiny and new, it was the tops. In Sherman County, Archie sure was the odd man out, a city fella and damn proud of it. Why was he here? Tall, with a slight limp from the war, his suit might have worked in a bigger town or if he was a banker. Not so much in rural Oregon. So at Ruby's Country Cafe, where the boys gathered over coffee early and a beer or two at night, the rumor was that Arch was hiding from something or someone. The smart money was on the law, but the mob was certainly a possibility. He had swagger, a smooth talker. He was a bit slick for most of the folks that went to the Baptist or Catholic church on Sunday and prayed over each meal. A meal that came from their fields, coops, and feedlots. You can bet the old boys checked their wallets when he left the table. No one was exactly sure where Irma met Archie. Portland? Maybe Bend? Could have been Reno, since Irma was known to play a hand of blackjack now and then. Even as she aged, Irma had style and grace. And now, as the owner of a huge spread west of town, she was an eligible bachelorette. Especially if the law or the mob was on your tail and you needed a place to lay low. Irma had a hard life of mourning, feedings, and raising children, made harder by the death of her first 2 husbands, one to cancer, another to war. Even taking into account her losses, the local gossip mill churned when Irma looked past the bluster and accepted old Arch's marriage proposal. It took a while, but it turned out that Irma was a good judge of character after all. She knew that living in rural America has a way of rubbing the slick off a man. Archie's bold suits gave way to simpler Levi's, and the shiny shoes became boots. Big city lights were now replaced by a lone bulb over the barn that he walked to every morning on his way to feed the chickens. If the law or the mob was still looking, it was unlikely they would recognize Archie now. His girly soft hands grew calloused, and the sly grin of a gambler slowly became the knowing smile of a man that found a place where he could be himself with a good wife and a good life. Archie's Pontiac Torpedo never did fit in at the farm. Even with a hitch welded onto the back, sometime around 1957, the now faded beauty gave out and was towed to the back junkyard, resting and rusting among broken wagon wheels and discarded farm implements that we will get to someday. A someday that never came. So what do you think, Archie's Pontiac? Thank you all. David Arday. I'll be back next Friday. In fact, as I discussed last week, I'm probably going to spend a little more time in the basement, so I may very well start doing some coffee mates in the mornings. Keep a notice up for that. If you would like to go to my show, it's July 7th, and if you want to know when I'm going to be on, hit the notification button. You can also find more of my work at www.davidraday.com. You know what I'm doing. I'm out. Thank you.